And so for this episode, we have our top 5 board games with gimmicks. I kind of defined this. Hopefully everybody kind of followed closer to each other. But basically, if you think about a gimmick, we're thinking about something that when you think of that game, it's selling that game. Mostly because of the gimmick. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily usually, a mechanism. It's something. Like, it might be on somebody's list, don't say it. But Cash and Guns has a bunch of guns that you point at each other. They're foam guns. It's unnecessary. You don't need them, but it's a cool gimmick to add into the game because you're pointing them at people and it kind of immerses you into it.
Right.
Something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be that crazy of a gimmick.
And a lot of times gimmick is used as negative connotation on something. But in this instance, we are saying that it is something that we kind of like in a game that is kind of draws you to it.
Yes, and it can be used in other games. It doesn't have to be specific to one game, like a unique component. Like, for instance, in video game world, everybody thinks the Wii and they think the motion controls.
Right.
But then the Kinect came out, and then the Move controllers, and then all the handheld games started adding like 6-axis and motion controls and stuff. So a lot of stuff have it, but when you think motion control gimmick, you're thinking of the Wii, you know? Mm-hmm. So we can, it could be like that. But anyway, we've already made our lists, so whatever happens, happens. And I haven't started in a while. I'll start with me. I don't think I have anyway. I don't know.
All right, do it.
But that's what I'm doing. My number 5 is probably the least of the gimmicks, but it really works well. And that's the Battle at Kimball's Cascade. So in this game, you have these little plastic trays. They're unnecessary, but it does help really well. And it helps like do the gimmick that it's actually doing. The gimmick in this one is almost more of a mechanism than it actually is a tool. Or a component, and that's basically, think of the old Gradius games or R-types where you're flying ships, side-scrolling across the map, and the game plays like that. You actually have these plastic trays that hold all the different...
Well, I think they all come down.
Well, down or across, whatever,
right.
Yeah. And this one, it's going down. But basically, you have these trays that have the cards, and then and you rotate them, so the bottom tray goes away and all those cards are gone, and then the new tray comes up at the top. So it's a neat gimmick because it helps magnify, I guess, the gimmick of what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's this scene that is kind of like cascading towards you. Pretty cool. I really like it.
I remember good things about that game.
Yeah, I like that game a lot. Have you played that one, George?
I have. Yes, I like it.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? You played it?
Yeah, I played it with you.
Yep. Cool.
Oh, okay. My number 5, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It's called Dragon Scroll, and it's by the Lamont brothers, Gordon and Fraser Lamont. They're the ones that did Poseidon's Kingdom and all those. They have overproduced components. And this is one where you're playing young dragons, and you're going around doing dragon kind of things on a map. So you're exploring the map, and you're just going around fighting things. And the gimmick is, when you do fight things, there's a tower. And in the tower, you take a marble and you drop it into the tower, and it strikes another larger marble at the bottom, and it bounces in one of 4 cardinal directions. And where it ends up, that's who you've struck. That's who you've done damage to. So if you're fighting wizards, you want it to go this one particular direction. But you can't really predict what's going to happen. No. And this whole huge contraption, just to determine how you hit something, could all be replicated with a 4-sided die.
Right. That's true, yeah.
But it's a ton of fun just for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a Rube Goldberg style mechanism.
And then you've got the other Lamont brothers kinds of things where the actual pieces that you're playing with are these ceramic, like huge, actual dragon like figures. So yeah, it's so overproduced, but it's just wonderful.
Nice. Oh. What you got, Matt?
My number 5 is Sword Crafters.
Right.
It's very gimmicky. So I mean, yeah, you build swords and you compare them to see whose sword is bigger.
Yeah, who's the longest,
and who's got the longest sword, and who's got the best jewel makeup on their sword. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
it's not really a sharp sword. It's like
it depends on if you get the tip on or not.
Yeah,
you can play with the tip variant.
Yeah, you gotta work the tip on, so you might be able to get a full sword.
Cool. What's your number 5, man?
We're 12.
Number 5 for me is the Volcano in Downfall of Pompeii. And the reason I like it is I put a little tea light in it now. Which looks like it's a little lit up.
That's excellent.
And when you take out your opponents, you get to throw them in this volcano. So
It's so unnecessary, but yeah,
Right.
it's kind of neat.
So wait, you're actually burning them with the tea light though?
Well,
no. It's a electronic tea light.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Kind of gives that flicker off. It's the
Right.
one that he had in that pumpkin.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, that's a cool idea. I like it.
Yeah.
Made my short list.
My number 4 is Mask of the Pharaoh. Just because there's almost no games that use some sort of VR-esque. It's not really VR.
Are you talking about the mask itself, or are you talking about the
Mask and what
app?
you use it for.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think app games, there's almost too many app games to really call it a gimmick anymore, because it's almost just a standard mechanism now. But this is, even though it's an app, it's using it in a different way, because you have, first off, it's simulating some sort of VR mechanism where you're looking around the room and
3D
conveying
elements.
information that they can't see. And I think that's really cool. And the other way is, like, a lot of these other apps for board games are kind of doing the randomness for you, and this isn't really doing the randomness. This is actually providing, like, you can't play the game without it. The other games, you
Right.
can almost include something that would take its place, and this you really can't take the place of the VR app. You have to almost have it, you have to play it with it, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's a really cool gimmick. I just wish it was more actual VR than just putting a screen up to your face.
Yeah.
But-
well, and also it comes with that decently cool mask that you don't need at all. Like,
No.
you
Yeah.
can use your phone without the mask. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the mask is strictly to hide the other players from kind of sneak peeking.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very fun game. That's a great choice. And it has a sequel, Mask of Moai, as well.
Do you have that one?
I do, yeah. And it's the same kind of thing, but you are going up and down. Like if you jump or if you duck down, like
Oh.
what you see is important.
Oh, wow. All right, we
So-
got to play that one.
Level 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is Igloo Pop, and it's a Zach Verlag game, and Klaus Zach is one of the designers. I can't remember the other one, sorry. But it's a game where you have these plastic igloos, and there are 13 of them, and then you have cards, and the cards will have numbers on them. So you put out a circle of cards on the table, and all the igloos are in the middle. And the cards will have numbers, and some of them will have more than one number. So it might be a 2 and a 5 or something like that on that card. And then it'll have a value as to how valuable the card is. And when you go, everyone sitting around the table picks up one of the igloos with one hand, shakes it near your ear, because inside the igloos, there's a certain number of beads.
Oh, no.
And you have to identify how many beads are in that igloo
It's like-
and put it on the proper card that has that number on it.
Huh.
And then you put one of your chips on it to show that's yours, that you put it there. And you just do that until all the igloos have been placed out there. And what this is actually simulating is kind of crazy, but they're actual igloos that a giant is picking up and shaking.
It's like, how many people are in here?
But then according to the game, it says, like, the giant just wants to play, like he's trying to find a certain number of kids to play with. It's like, no, he's gonna
He
eat
wants
them.
to eat them. Yeah. Tell us the
What a
truth.
dumb theme, but it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's hilarious. But the game itself is hilarious too, and it's really tricky. And then you get points for having matched up your number of beads.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That
definitely.
kind of reminds me of another game that's not going to make it on some people's list. Anyway, we'll come back.
But we knew
Oh,
it would
is
be
it?
on yours.
Yeah. Is it on
It's
yours?
actually not.
It's not.
No.
Oh, wow.
What was
Okay.
it called? Something Morosa?
More Amorosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have some good hearing.
That's a
Like,
great game
click,
too.
click, click, click. Or it's like click.
That's how it is most of the time.
Yeah, well, I'm losing that.
Yeah.
Me?
Yep.
Yep.
My number 4 is Spinderella. So
yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
it's short list on mine.
it is a kid's game, but I tell you what, you walk by someone playing this, you're going to stop and look at it.
Oh, it's so much fun.
And it is actually a very fun game. Yes. So you, I can't remember exactly how it works, but I know that you're controlling a spider on a string and you're lowering it up and stuff.
Trying to capture
You move at
ants.
certain spots, and capture stuff, and Or no, you're moving your ants.
You're moving your ant. You need to get all 4 of your ants to the end.
Yes.
But as you're moving them, people can move the little tree trunk and hide your pieces,
Right.
or they get to roll the spider and they get to move the top spider so many spaces.
Right.
And there's like a mathematical thing you have to move it in to get the actual Black Widow to come down that many spaces to grab one of the ants with the magnet.
Yeah.
So there's 2 dice and you roll them. One of them tells you how much to move the spider. So you get to move the spider on your turn, and you also get to roll to move the ant on your turn. And there's 2 spiders on top, and the distance between those 2 spiders determines how far the string of the 3rd spider, which is below them, will come down.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to look at.
It's fantastic.
So I remember at Lexicon, we walked by, we're like, "What is that? That's crazy."
Did you end up picking it up?
I have it.
Okay, I thought so.
Me too. It's a great choice.
Good stuff.
Number 4 for me is lasers and mirrors on the kit, the laser chess game. So there's not a lot of games that uses lasers or mirrors, but this uses both. So what you're trying to do in this game is a 2-player game, and it's an abstract type of game where you're trying to move your pharaoh figure, and it has a little button on top where it hits it shoots out a laser. You're trying to hit it to your mirrors and bounce it around your playing surface here to hit your opponent's pharaoh and take him out. So
I like that game. That was cool.
Yeah.
You know what's even cooler is we should add a small fog machine to spray fog into the board, so that when you actually do the laser, you can see the whole line.
Yeah.
Dry ice. Yeah.
My number 3 is Vampires of the Night. Vampires of the Night is kind of a play on the little machines you see at like the arcade that give you tickets. And you kind of, anyway, you have this like wand that has a magnet on it, and there's a big piece in the middle that has a magnet on its opposite polarity, and you're trying to use the opposite polarity to push this big piece around to knock all these little tokens off the sides of the edges of the board. The problem the problem is there's holes in the board, and so if they go in there, you don't get them. And I'm pretty sure it ends your turn at that point too.
And they're supposed to represent garlic or something.
Yeah, you're pushing the vampire around with his magic wand, trying to push the garlic off the board. But if it goes into his castle or something, I don't know.
We played it,
and it has a second layer of gimmick in which all the pieces, or a lot of the pieces, or some of them, not the board, but the pieces, the garlic pieces, and your vampire's head and your wand all glow in the dark.
Yeah, so we played this one night. It was real late. we put the board and everything up to light for a while, and we turned off all the lights. We played it in the dark.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's pretty fun.
Okay, my number 3 is A Tale of Pirates by Crania Creations, and this is one where you have for your workers, you have hourglasses that you flip over. And so you're moving them around on the ship to get things done on the ship. And it's a cooperative game where you are trying to get past various obstacles, which are represented by cards around the ship. So you can turn the ship to confront various things, and it might be an enemy ship, or it might be rocks, or whatever. But you just have to work out what you need to be doing, and there's all these different scenarios that are done through an app as well. So the app is a gimmick, but really I chose it as the gimmick is the fact that you have sand timers and you don't get to go again until your sand has run out. And there's a lot of games like that, but this is my favorite one.
There's one that uses it that's really bad.
I like it.
There are several.
He's talking about Damage Report. Do you like Damage Report?
No, that's very bad.
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. Whatever.
Yeah, so there's some bad ones, but this is a good one.
There's another one that's called, I think, by WizKids, it's called Wartime. Can't remember what it's called, but basically you are all your pieces are hourglasses, and when you flip them over, it counts down. Then you get to move it and attack stuff. And so it's a real-time game that you're playing against one other person, and you're moving your pieces around like chess, but each one can only move in a certain
time
increment. Yeah. But if you don't pay attention, it could just sit there for a long time and not be used too.
Right.
Well, the Tale of Pirates is one that's cooperative. So you're talking with each other and you're making a plan, and you're trying to time it all out. Yeah, it's good.
My number 3 is Tower of Madness.
It's
a big Tower of Cthulhu. So this is a Smirk and Dagger game. You might have seen it around. It's a big tower. It's got a bunch of tentacles sticking out of it. Oddly enough, we thought that was just going to be a gimmick, and it turned out to be a pretty decent game. So we were pretty pleased by that. So yeah, there's a lot of game inside that. So
Oh yeah,
but still pulling tentacles out and watching marbles fall is
it's
still
like
fun.
Kerplunk the gamer version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. From number 3 for me is Cube Tower. You can find that in Shogun, Amerigo. So it kind of replaces, maybe doing something with a dice. This has a memory aspect to it, meaning that, you toss 6 of your cubes in there, 3 might fall out, but now you got 3 cubes in there. So if you're doing something with dice, it doesn't matter if you roll poorly every round. You're like, this round I'm going to roll better because, the last 3 times I rolled poorly. Well, that's not going to be the case, but it is the case in the Cube Tower. You toss stuff in, your cubes are stuck in there. You know that there's 5 cubes in there, so you have a better chance of getting more cubes out in previous rounds. So
Reminds me we need to
future
get
rounds.
Yeah, we need to get Immortals to the table.
I heard that was pretty good, and kind of a successor, maybe even to like Shogun Wallenstein.
I think that if we're just talking Shogun and Amerigo, I think I like it better in Amerigo because sometimes it doesn't even make sense, the outcome in Shogun.
Oh, it definitely makes sense.
No, it does not.
I told you how it makes sense.
Does not make sense.
You're traveling through the countryside and you're picking up more guys.
You don't have a battle and come out with more people.
The villagers.
That doesn't happen.
The villagers. They join your side because they seen that you won.
Wait, maybe you won and you forced the others to be on your side now.
Don't
Or
help him,
that.
George. Come
Man,
on.
you can do it so many ways.
Oh man! All right, my number 2 is Slide Quest. This game uses a board, and you put these little,
Sometimes
handles.
backwards,
Sometimes
but-
backwards, but that's fine.
It still works out.
You put these handles that kind of elevate this other board off the ground inside the game box. You put one of these little sheets of paper on it that has like a different printout of what's going on. And it's just so much fun. It's a cooperative game. You're tapping the little levers to move the board your way.
Tap Quest.
Tap Quest. Well, that's only because we had the things backwards, so you don't tap. Actually, if you're playing it the real way, when you play it, you can gently press, and it's
All right.
smooth. But
Okay.
yeah, if you put them in backwards, it's like tap 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 tap. Either way, though, it's such a fun game. It's fun. It's such a fun gimmick. And the only thing I probably don't like about the game is that I feel like once you've went through it once, you're kind of done.
There was quite a few of them, but
There's like 20.
You can play 20 of them in one sitting.
Yeah, you could go
Absolutely,
an hour and a half and you're done. I mean,
Right.
It's the kind of game you're going to play every once in a while, yeah.
Right. So it would probably be a little bit down on my list. Actually, Battle of Campbell's the battle, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say I like that game better, but at the same time, I like the
Let's
gimmick
switch-
in this is better.
Switch this
It's
around.
more of a gimmick, yeah.
It's more of a gimmick than battle. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, so
Cool. My number 2 is Paradox by Brian Shure. And the gimmick in that one is just that you're using a sort of bejeweled grid.
bedazzled.
Yeah, bejeweled,
Oh,
bedazzled. Is that what it
yeah.
is?
Oh no, you're
Okay.
talking about bejeweled style like Match 3.
That's like an app that you play.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Right.
Yeah.
Match 3. Okay, no, I was
They
thinking.
explode.
Yeah,
I was thinking like putting gems on a pair of jeans.
No. no. You have this array of tokens, and then it's more like the app, and you move them around. You try to get them in certain patterns, or lines, in order to collect the token, and then you can spend it. And you have to collect them and spend them to sort of travel in time and travel in dimensions to save these worlds, and they all have different artwork and everything. But the gimmick is that you're doing this bejeweled kind of thing, and it's just a fun game that I haven't seen that kind of thing done in that way before.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. We're on 2, right?
2.
You.
My number 2 is Zulkin. I like the big gears.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not much to say about it, but it's
Feel like we're gonna talk about that again.
I might add to it later.
yeah.
All right. I'll go to my number 2. Number 2 for me is item meeples and all that good stuff on like Tiny Epic Quest. So I think that's really cool that they can hold. You have these little meeples. They can hold a sword and a shield and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't like it as much as Well, I did like it more than some of the other ones, the mech ones and whatnot. But in Tiny Epic Quest, like those in particular.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool gimmick.
I've got a couple of honorable mentions, just
All
like 3, and it's real quick. One, I feel like Dice Forge would have been a really cool one for me, but then the more I thought about it, there's so many games coming out that have customizable dice that I almost feel like it's starting to not become a gimmick anymore and it become a thing that you can do in board game design.
Or more popular than just that
Yeah.
one or a few
Yeah.
little games that use that one particular gimmick.
Exactly. I put Alchemists just because that's the first game I had on there that used an app. And then I was like, man, there's so many games that use apps.
Right.
And so then I remembered Mask of the Pharaoh. And I
Yeah.
felt like for
Yeah.
a gimmick, it actually replaced that one for me.
It still was pretty unique still for me anyway.
For what it's
on
doing
how
with
it's
the app.
doing.
I
or
agree.
what it's doing with the app.
For what it's doing with the deduction is amazing.
Right.
It is, yes. And then Dr. Panic, because it's a bunch of tiny gimmicks, but I don't think any of them personally are like amazing.
Right.
It's just a
Each
cool
one of them.
collection.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it even comes with an actual gimmick where you wear a net over your hair,
Yeah.
like the doctors have, and it provides nothing to the gameplay.
Yeah.
So that was, that's my honorable mentions.
Those are good. My honorable mentions, I just want to say Lifeboat, because I know Tim loves that one so much.
Yeah.
Where in the game you have someone you love and you have someone you hate. And that was just a brilliant...
Oh, like a mechanical gimmick. Then.
It's a mechanical gimmick. Yeah. I had a really hard time with this list, honestly, because I didn't want to call things gimmicks. And,
Right.
I feel like it's maybe...
Sometimes it feels like a put down to say
Yeah.
a gimmick, but how we're saying it.
Well, the
is-
The definition
connotation.
is something to make you buy it, I think.
right. It's
Well,
just something
there's
that catch your eye, makes you want to buy it. I think that
I mean,
the
there's-
current consensus of a gimmick is
That's the
oh,
only
it's
reason they
gimmicky.
did that.
I
Yeah.
think I think gimmicky and gimmick kind of are two different things.
Okay.
yeah, we'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying. You didn't want to pick things that are gimmicky.
Yeah. Or I did, but then I felt bad about it. I don't know. It was hard
Yeah.
for me to do this list. But so that was one that was on my honorable mention. And did somebody say nyctophobia?
Did not.
Well, early in the episode I did, but when we were talking
Okay.
about horrified, nyctophobia.
Yeah, that just the idea that you're playing
You're
a game
blindfolded.
blindfolded. That's not been done where everyone's blindfolded,
Right.
or except for one person. That's not been done.
The whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
thought
some
about
that
that.
you're like put down your head for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought about that one too.
Yeah.
That's probably short list for me.
Yeah, that's definitely a great gimmick. And then this one was honorable mention because I feel like I've talked about this one a lot, and it's because it's it's one of the most innovative ones I've seen in a long time, and that's the faceless, where you have the compass and the magnets.
Oh yeah.
I just think that's an amazing gimmick. But okay,
Interesting.
Or using.
I thought that was going to be your number one, actually.
using multiple magnets.
well, it would have been. I just feel like I've talked about it a lot.
That's fair. All right.
So my last honorable mention is one that I picked just because it's not. I don't really feel like it's a gimmick, but it was very different than everything that had come before, and it's Legends of Andor, where
Oh,
it's an
okay.
adventure game.
Eric's not. They're not
not
fans.
impressed.
It's
Yeah, go ahead.
it's an adventure game, but it's
might-
actually a puzzle
Yeah.
that you have to figure out the right way to do things. You can't just go around killing monsters, because if you kill them, it
You waste too much
hastens the
time.
end of the game.
Or that.
Yeah, and so that's sort of a unique concept, I think, that has come along, and so I just wanted to give that one a shout out.
Did you? I'm thinking that you've played quite a few of the campaigns or throughout the game.
I've only played 4 of the first one, but I've
Okay.
played number 3. I don't even know how many times.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh,
I just can't keep going, because
Yeah.
I keep playing with new players.
Okay. We played like the intro first one, and wasn't too impressed by it. But also, I know
Well,
a
it's an
lot of
intro.
times, it is because it is intro and
Yeah.
it's kind of getting you into the game, but not showing you all that's what's
Right.
in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we should. I'll bring it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
It's not for everyone. It's definitely a puzzle
Yeah.
rather than just an
The
adventure. Game.
Mhm.
Yeah, and a lot of
maybe
people
that's
don't
also
like
the
that.
other thing, going into it thinking it's more of an adventure game instead of a puzzle game.
Like, not how
You
can
have
we beat
different
the end guy, but how can we solve this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different expectations going in.
Like, why can't I just go kill all that works?
Right.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I put Haba generally has a lot of good kind of gimmicky games. So like Animal Upon Animal is kind of one, and then like your Dragon's Breath game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
They've got another game I remember that you put like clothesline around everyone's neck and you're hanging. It's like a snatch and grab game with monsters and stuff, and you hung.
Was that Mayday or was that?
No, that was Haba.
Oh, that was Haba. Okay. So I mean, they
laundry. What was it? Washing machine or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they always have some kind of game every year that you look at and it's like, oh, look at that, it's something crazy looking,
something different.
Yeah.
Right.
I know they had another one where there was like a volcano in the middle of the board and it had a dragon that would go around. You like spun it or something and threw all the jewels out.
Yeah, Dragonfire.
Yeah. So they always have these like really like captivating games. So it's give a shout out to them, and they're good. They're not just like we're saying. It's not a negative thing. And then I put Connexy.
Yeah.
That's pretty gimmicky. Yeah.
Connexy's cool to look at. It catches your eye and it's fun. I like word games. So
Yeah.
And that's one where you build words out of actual
yes,
Right.
blocky letter or pieces.
It doesn't show you, but
Yeah, I like it.
I like
Well,
it too.
I didn't know we was doing honorable mentions.
we always do honorable.
So
I got
Eric,
one.
so Eric has one.
So mine's pretty much because I haven't played it yet. George says he's gonna be bringing it by one day, but Ugtech have these blow up little clubs,
Oh,
or
yeah.
you're using these clubs to bash people and tell people how to do stuff. So
Yeah, that's definitely a gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't need that thing at all.
Yeah.
but
it's hilarious.
looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll bring it.
Cool. Before we do my number one, I was thinking there's so many dexterity games you could just slap on this. So I try not to include as many because, like Animal Upon Animal is a great one, but it's like there is a lot of stacking games. So is it really like an actual gimmick? But I feel like I could have made a top 5 dexterity gimmicky games.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
If you just exclude flicking something and exclude stacking, there's a lot of I guess it's most dexterity games.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, my number one, Matt has already mentioned, and that's Sword Crafters.
Oh, okay. That's your number one.
Really, and
Wow.
the thing is,
Okay.
it's not as strong as a gimmick as maybe some of the other ones on my list, but it is incredibly fun to me. I really, really like this game.
I would also point out that if you're gonna get the extended
the
edition. Just the base game is there's not a lot there.
Yeah. The modules you add from the extended edition actually make it a little bit deeper of a game. But what's cool about it is you're not just building, like when you're building this sword, but it functionally matters. It's not just you're building a sword and it doesn't matter. Because when you put the pieces in, you have to slot them in a certain way, and that actually changes how you want to pick up pieces and slot them in. You're just like, I have to put the parallel ones in before I can put the other one in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it actually does change the strategy of what you pick and when you pick it. It's not like you just have 4 rows of things you're putting out next to each other and you choose which row it goes in, because there's a limitation to the way it actually goes together, as in you can't put things in certain ways. So I really did like it, and plus it's fantasy, and I like the split you choose type of thing too. It's done really well there. It's not so some other split you choose games are very AP prone, I guess, because the person splitting's like, I don't know what to do, and it takes forever. This one kind of everybody does a split you choose with the slashing of the grid. You get to build this cool 3D sword, and I don't know. I really like the game. I probably would have put Battle at Campbell's Cascade on top if the gimmick was a little bit more strong, because I like the game. That one probably the best out of all these. But Sword Crafters is like the solid in between. Like it's enough gimmick, but it's got some game behind it too.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly surprised I did not hear Pitch Car or Tumbling Dice.
That's why I preferenced right before this. Dexterity games almost couldn't make my list because it's too easy.
Yeah.
Tumbling Dice is a cool gimmick,
That you're doing it with dice.
but Pitch Car and Tumbling Dice are almost the same game. Like, I mean, they're not, but you know what I'm saying?
Nowhere different.
The only gimmick is I flick something.
Right.
One falls downstairs and one goes on a track. And so I feel like that wasn't really as appealing of a list to me. But yeah, I think Tumbling
We could
Dice
say,
probably would have been.
The loop in
Pitch Car.
I actually hate that thing. I didn't like it.
right, yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not buying it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the
Maybe-
ramps are cool. The ramps. But,
If you bought it, you could practice.
Yeah.
yeah,
need some
I don't know,
practice.
but
You need Jesus.
you need everybody to practice before you play too. Because
Yeah,
if you
that-
just play with
okay.
playing with random people, after a few flicks, they get the idea of what they need to do and how far they can flick things and stuff.
Yeah.
But the loop is just you come across it you wouldn't come across it enough to get good at it unless you were already good at it
Yeah.
before you started. So
Yeah, that's true.
anyway,
Cool. Okay, so my number one is Witness, which is a game by Dominique Baudin, and it's based on the Blake and Mortimer comics by Edgar Jacobs. And this is a game that the gimmick is that you're playing telephone as you're playing the game. Really, the game is just figure out the mystery, deduce what actually took place. But the problem is you don't have the full information, and the
Or
only
you
way you
do
get
have
it,
the full information. Oh, you personally don't.
you have to pass it around. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Everyone together has the full information.
Right.
But just that gimmick of using telephone to pass information is brilliant. I love it.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
and the only game I can think of that actually uses that is Telestrations. I mean, other than that, like the telephone style.
It's similar.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's drawing instead of actually in speech.
It's still the actual telephone.
Right.
Say something and it degrades or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and to add on to the other thing, Matt, with the sword crafters,
Yeah.
it is such a just. I feel like a child. I'm like, yeah. I got this huge sword. I'm like, yeah. They can threaten each other. Do not pick that. Just point your anyway.
My number one, Eric said, is Tiny Epic Quest, but he did not mention my favorite thing, which was the item rack. So,
That is such a gimmick. I think that was that a Kickstarter gimmick?
I think so, but it is cool to you get a certain piece of gear and you actually get to put it on your little Meeple.
Yeah,
That
take
is
it off the
very
rack.
cool. Take it
Yeah.
off the rack. Yeah.
Yeah. Number one for me is Azokan Gears. Like Matt said.
we swapped our ones and twos.
So not only is it cool, but it's actually rather functional.
There's like a little fly or gnat
Yeah.
or something.
So it's rather
You're
functional.
ruining our podcast.
Where you don't have to, if you actually had to move every figure, on all these tracks up, it would be pretty tedious. But you don't have to. You move this one gear and it moves all the gears up.
It's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's very clever. I like it a lot. I do like the game a lot. So
And it's probably one of the only gimmicks on this list that you can customize if you want to.
oh yeah,
By like repainting
up.
it and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. I haven't done it with mine, but maybe one day.
It's still tedious.
It's not tedious.
It's a good gimmick though. So, list of a couple of games I was actually surprised not to see on this. Right? You just said the faceless. Matt, I didn't see Drop Mix.
Drop mix.
Oh. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Eric, I didn't see Chopstick Dexterity Challenge.
Oh.
Or Walkstar. The Walkstar.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Or actually, that was a joke, but the actual one I thought you would put on your list is Tapple.
I did like Tapple.
Yeah.
But
And then Beast of Balance.
Oh yeah.
not
Yeah.
stacking.
And then
But it takes the same. I forgot what they called. The same elements as you have those chips in your cards, or in this case, chips in different figures.
And then I guess, did you have Cash and Guns on there at all? And then remove it when I
was-
gave an example?
I was thinking about putting it
Eric's
on
like,
there.
oh, that was too easy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of the other ones I had, because I was going through my app of games I played and I was writing down all the cool ones, like Treasure Island. I thought had a cool gimmick.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Like where you're dry racing like circles everywhere, try to, and then
Narrow down.
Very fun.
yeah, gizmos. I thought that was a.
This was such a hard list to come up with
Potion
because so
explosion.
many things could apply.
I came up with a lot of games, but I guess like you said, because a lot of them are dexterity though.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's the reason some of these I just didn't put on there, just because like Bling Bling Gemstone I really wanted to put on this list.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, but I was like, man, there's so many other games where you're knocking stuff down. I mean,
Or
you
Talk
basically just say
Woodman or whatever it
Jenga.
is.
I mean, I could have put Jenga on there just as well.
Sure.
But
I would have thought you
Or
had
Go,
Fireball
24K.
Island or
Yeah.
the shooting one?
Crossfire.
Crossfire.
Actually, I put both of those on my short list. Crossfire is just a garbage game. It just has a strong nostalgia feeling.
Sure.
You don't think you can sweat just like pulling a trigger? You do that for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Trying to reload and shoot. Reload.
I think it'd be better if I had double the amount of components. Like if I-
The steel balls.
Yeah, if I had double the ball bearings, right, I think it would be better because you could cheese that game just by letting the person miss a whole bunch and kind of barely keeping the things out in the middle,
It's like,
and then now
I
you
got
have
it.
all the balls, and it's
Right.
like, all right,
Oh, I just thought of one that I could have put on my list. I didn't. It's called Virus, and in that game you have lots of little pieces that represent what they are. Like,
is this the Arcane Wonders game or a different game?
no, it's a different one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, this is I don't even know, Kickstarter game, and you have like lots of little bullet pieces, and then when you fight someone, you have a board that has squares on it, and you throw all these little bullet pieces on, like however many you're shooting, you just throw it onto this board, and you try to get them within those squares to actually make a hit. Like, it's a dexterity element to a kind of a Euro game. Or if you're trying to heal
Oh, that's
yourself,
interesting.
you have little hearts, and you're throwing those on there and trying to get those in the things. It's absolute
I'll have to
gimmick.
see it.
Yeah.
Absolute gimmick. Yeah.
Oh, you know one I didn't even think about is Dungeon Fighter.
I wrote that.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I didn't just say it because it's kind of dexterity though. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, but I love that one. That's a brilliant one.
Yeah.
No one said pie face.
Pie Face? That's not, no.
Hit the button.
Pie Face Showdown.
Yeah, that's both people are doing it.
Yeah,
right?
you're trying to put the
It's going back.
It's got the
Okay.
meter.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
And the only other one I had on this is Dimension.
Oh, yeah.
I thought of that one too.
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, dexterity.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Well, there's a lot of thought in that one.
yeah.
There is.
I mean, it's not just dexterity.
But the gimmick is not a lot of dexterity games actually have like marbles or balls or whatever. So, but
Also, Looney Quest is good.
the drawing game or whatever,
Yeah.
I had Doodle Quest, which is
kind of
Yeah.
kind
kid,
of the same thing.
kid version, I
Yeah.
think. Or
Yeah.
well, cool. Anything else to add, or are we done?
We can go on forever.
Yeah, that's it.